one. KenCast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another KenCast. It's great to have you here today. We're going to have a great discussion on my favorite character, Terry Silver, and the great actor who plays him, Thomas Ian Griffith. And to have this discussion, I have a very special guest for you today. It is Christine, who is known as Tig Daily on Twitter. She posts things every single day about Thomas Ian Griffith. And Christine, it is great to have you on today. And I was wondering if you, absolutely, I was wondering if you could tell everyone about your account and how they can find you and what you do.
Okay, well, it's pretty simple. It's essentially, I'm Tig Daily. Well, I guess the Twitter, normal HTML, if you just type it in, it's ictwitter.com/Tig Daily. I think that's how it works. I haven't checked myself in a while. But essentially, I try my best to post as many updates. I retweet things from other Cobra Kai, Karate Kid fans. If I find anything someone posted about another film, maybe, I share that. I share artwork. Mostly, you know, Thomas Ian Griffith / Terry Silver centered, or if they post, like, let's say vampires or something, I'll try to retweet as much as I can, just supporting other fans, supporting him. I like to, you know, make screenshots and screen caps and all that of his various films. I try to find like old posters. I try to any photo I can get from any film, any archival photography from his soap days, pretty much anything and everything Thomas Ian Griffin is all of the whole page. So
yeah. I love following your account. Everyone, I have the Twitter account up below in the description. Everyone, if you're on Twitter, go follow. It's especially if you're a Thomas Ian Griffith fan. Just amazing stuff every day. Stuff I didn't even know existed.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. It helps recenter you, right, on the important things in life. So
absolutely.
Every day. Well, Christine, it's great to have you here. And before we launch into a discussion, we're just going to have a fun discussion about Terry Silver and Thomas Ian Griffith today. And before we get in there, as always, we're going to start with some news.
KenCast News.
All right. So we have a little bit of news. Obviously, the trailers come out, and I want to get Christine's thought on the trailer and Thomas Ian Griffith and Terry Silver in that trailer. But first, this was posted, I think this was yesterday, that Thomas Ian Griffith is going to be at FanX Salt Lake Comic Convention, September 22nd through 24th. So, Christine, tell me about this, and what is the significance of this?
Well, I mean, it'll be the first, you know, fan experience with Thomas Ian Griffin. It'll be the first convention that I know of that he's done or been part of. I mean, he's done several signings in the past, like private signings. I think there was one with CPA. I forgot. I think they're called CPA. I mean, for me, in my head, that's Certified Public Accountants, but CPA is actually a autograph archive company. They are fan based as well, so they started small, and so essentially you can get autographs from anybody and everybody. Then some other ones, I forget their names, the company names, but essentially you just send them your address, you pay for an autograph, and they send you an autograph. I did one, I think, a while back for someone else, but yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I know. I would love to go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to this one, but I don't know. What do you think, Christine? If this is a successful, great appearance, like this could be the beginning of multiple appearances, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I really hope so. I mean, it'll be a delight for fans, you know, to get kind of up close and personal. I mean, I myself have never met him, so it would be really cool. I'm pretty psyched. I'm excited. I'm hoping that I can get to go. So we'll see if, you know, I can arrange everything with my schedule. Otherwise, I definitely I'm definitely on board. I'm about 98% sure I can make it to this, just based on work and everything. So, but yeah, I think it'll be a very good experience for fans. I think, just to get to talk to him, share a few words. I know there's a lot of fans, in Europe, Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, and just even Thomasin Griffin as a whole. I know there's some fans in Germany. There's some in Australia. There's also one in Romania, I believe, in the UK. So hopefully, this jump starts more events, and hopefully, he'll go across the pond, or if not, maybe there'll be some states where European fans will be like closer to them to get to.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think it'll be great. I just hope, everything goes off without a hitch, and, sometimes, not to knock cons or anything or these conventions, but sometimes they can be kind of chaotic for some actors here and there. But I think also some conventions don't treat fans as great as they like. I know actor Sean Bean quoted once saying that it's kind of like a cattle call or whatever for fans, but I've been to a few here and there, and they've been okay. So I don't know where that opinion comes from, but I think they'll treat him great, and I think he's a strong guy. I think he'll be just great. So
that's great.
It'll be fun. I'm really, really, really hoping I can go. I'm super, super excited. So hopefully it works out.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We've got Stuart. Good to see you, Stuart. Good to see you, Aaron. Robbie Silver Kai. Great to see you. Invisible Observer says, Christine. Thank you, person, for joining us. Aurelio, looking forward to Terry Silver analysis. Absolutely. We're looking forward to that too. Robert, it's nothing beats Terry Silver. Stuart, good to see you. Darth Lewis, great to see you. Lisa, great to see you. Guys, thanks for watching today, and throw in your comments and questions. We're going to be talking about Terry Silver, so I know a lot of you have very deep thoughts about this character, about the actor Thomasin Griffith, and we are getting to that discussion in just a minute. We have some other bit of news. If you haven't seen it, I put a link in the description. This is Once Upon a Time in the Valley. This is a new track from season 5 of Cobra Kai, released by Zach Robinson and Leo Bierenberg. These guys are absolute genius composers.
Oh, totally. I mean,
amazing. It's incredible what they do. And if you didn't understand like their range in composing, click on the link and listen to this song. It's not that long. It's in the description, and it is amazing. And Christine, I know you've heard this. What do you think? What does this make you think of when you listen to this?
Honestly, it takes me back kind of to spaghetti westerns and even Kill Bill. I was talking to somebody earlier on. They were mentioning how even the whole of the trailer kind of has that Kill Bill vibe, and they're really psyched to see where the season goes. But to go back onto the song, I think it's just a phenomenal throwback to that world, sort of like a Western hybrid. Actually, in vampires, there's kind of like that. It's more of a Western horror, but they have a lot of the John Carpenter sounds are very much an ode to Westerns. So it's kind of like a modern take, and I kind of get that vibe from this, and I really enjoy it. I think it's a phenomenal song, and I think Zach and after seeing them at the Troubadour doing the Cobra Kai Live, I think they've really grown. I think they've just really developed into this amazing badass sound, for lack of a better word. I think it has a lot of 80s nostalgia, and then now they're adding like a Western element, and I love Westerns and I love 80s. So for me, it's like heaven. It's pretty much a heavenly song, if I could say that.
I know. I think Zach tweeted something. He's like, listen to this and tell me what you think this is scoring in season 5. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, I don't even know. This is going to be really wild. I know I don't have the tweet here, but I know Hayden Schlossberg he replied and he said something like, "Oh yeah, I think I remember. I think it's that hot tub scene between Terry and Amanda." And I was like, "Man, really?" No, he's kidding. He's always kidding.
Yeah.
So that's great. And Christine did mention the amazing concert at the Troubadour that they gave. And check out this shot. This is in the moment. This is a wild shot. This is me and Christine at that concert. We live in the LA area, so when they have these Cobra Kai events, sometimes we happen to see each other there, which is amazing. And this was a blast, wasn't it, Christine?
It's after us rocking out, having a good time, and me sporting a Johnny Lawrence inspired look. So it was a great time. I mean, I think we also met up with Drew, and that was great. And you guys got to do a whole video recording, which I'm excited to see more about. And, whenever you guys put that out, I'm gonna definitely retweet it and share it, because it's just, I mean, it's what you guys do is just phenomenal. And so I think to have built such a relationship with both of you guys, I think it's awesome. I think it's gonna be fabulous to work with you guys in the future, and some more Cobra Kai stuff and everything, even beyond Silver and beyond.
Yes, and thank you so much. And Christine's kind of mentioning that Drew, the Cobra Kai kid, was also at this concert, and I was helping him film sort of a behind the scenes of this concert and all the people behind it, the people there, and we got finished with that, and it was 3 days, and it was so much material. I think it was more material than we ever anticipated. And so Drew's going through all that right now, and he's going to be putting together something as soon as he can about that. And it's going to be, it's a lot of fun. And Christine was there, and she was part of it. So that's amazing. Let's see. We've got some questions before we launch into our discussion. Robert says, do you think they'll ever mention what happened to Margaret or Milos?
Good old Margaret. I actually always thought about that, and I mean, did they pass on? Did they move on to better and brighter things than being, the on-hand staff of Terry Silver? I don't know. I kind of wish they sort of touched up on that, but I mean, who knows? Maybe season 5, because season 5 is like the epic Terry Silver moment. Right. So hopefully we'll get some more information and backstory on what happened. But
so Christine, by pass on, do you mean eliminated?
Maybe died. I don't know. I mean, Margaret was an older lady, so I don't know. Not to say anything bad about poor Margaret. So hopefully, R.I.P. We'll see.
Well, hopefully, like I think Terry, unless they did something to betray Terry, in that case, maybe they deserved it. But Terry maybe had enemies, and maybe they struck at his help. I don't know. I would think it would be a high risk job, maybe, to be an higher up in Terry's organization. Yeah. I don't know, but I mean, I think Terry's a great guy. He's a great boss. He would protect his employees, right?
Yeah, and I think generally he has that in his nature. I feel like, judging by some of Karate Kid 3, but mostly from what I'm seeing in Cobra Kai. I mean, I know it's a deviation from what Kamen might have written, or they've added more in Cobra Kai than existed. Because I mean, there's been commentary that in KK3, Terry Silver was kind of a one-dimensional villain, which I don't entirely agree with. But maybe that's just because I dive deeper into his character than most people do, and maybe that's a blessing or a curse. I don't know. But I definitely think once he gets loyal, and once somebody else is loyal to him, I think he definitely hangs on to that, because I feel like that might have been something that was missing in his life growing up. So I feel he was always kind of searching for love, in a sense. Some people that will stick by him and not let go. So I feel like he was probably really good to them.
Yeah,
it's just maybe time and just things happened, and they had to leave or whatever. Or nature happened.
I think those are great points. You're right. And you're right. They had lived a long, happy life, probably made a ton of money.
Yep.
And so hopefully they pass peacefully if they've passed. But hopefully we'll learn what's happened to those characters.
Yeah.
And you know what, guys? We're already jumping into Terry Silver. So let's just do the
KenCast discussion.
Yeah, here we go. Guys, it's great to see you. Dale, great to see you. William, Seema, Sebastian, Danielle, good to see you. Now, Sebastian says, don't ask me why, because I don't even understand how, but this is how I feel about viewing Terry Silver with that necklace.
What?
Interesting. That's an interesting emotion.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know. We'll get into the looks of him.
Yeah.
Marianella says they think Dennis and Snake will also appear. So this has been highly requested, Christine.
Yeah.
All right. Highly requested. Snake and Dennis were Terry Silver's henchmen in Karate Kid 3, and they worked with Mike Barnes, and people want them back. Do you think they're going to appear?
You know, I actually met up with William Christopher Ford at Sean Kanan's book event in Barnes & Noble at the Grove. I can't remember when it was. Maybe it was like last
May or
the
something?
end of last year or so. I can't
okay.
remember. But he mentioned that they had approached him. I mean, I don't want to, there's no spoilers in this, but I think he just basically told me that they approached him for it, but he didn't share more than that.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if maybe Peter from Cobra Kai Companion may know some more. I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. I think maybe not. I don't know.
Right.
I really don't know. It's kind of ambiguous. But also, he's an awesome guy. I mean,
Yeah.
He's a martial arts expert, just amazing to talk to. I mean, if you ever get a chance and you're anywhere and he's there, just go up to him. He's just very approachable. So,
Right.
As far as Snake, I don't know.
Right. He, if everyone hasn't seen it yet, I did an interview with William Christopher Ford.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And check it out. And I ask him, I try to ask him if he's going to appear, and you can kind of see his answer on that. It's kind of like exactly what Christine said. It's like, he can't say, either way, but, I guess you could say he's hopeful, but Sensei Ford is amazing. And
Right.
he's plays heavies, and he's got a new movie coming out where he's playing like a bad guy, but when you meet him in person, like, he makes me feel like I'm in the presence of Mr. Miyagi. Like, he's just so like calm and peaceful, and
He's all about that golden wisdom. He's something else. I mean, actually, I kind of ran into him multiple times. I mean, I ran into him at the Paley Fest as well, just randomly, and he's like, "You again?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, sorry, sorry." Yeah.
That's great. Now Frank says, "I doubt Margaret would be around, but do you think there will be a Tom Cole connection this season?" Interesting question.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if you're interested in that connection, check out Cobra Cole. Links in the description. That is a short film that I did with David Shatra, who plays Tom Cole on Cobra Kai, and might explore some of those connections. And I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun. I've watched it so many times, and I've told people, I'm like, if you're a fan of Cobra Kai, you need to watch this. It's awesome. I mean, I kind of, if I just say like Terry Silver, some people might be like, what? I don't know if I want to watch that. He's the bad guy, right? I'm like, no, well, you should watch it regardless. So, yeah.
Well, and we do see in Karate Kid 3, obviously Terry lives in the Ennis house, and in Cobra Cole, we also see the Ennis house.
Yes.
And Josh asks, are we going to see the Ennis house in season 5? What do you think, Christine?
I don't know. I mean, I really love that house. That's that property. I mean, Frank Lloyd Wright is one of my favorite architects. I mean, I'm sure he's a favorite of a lot of people, but I think structurally it's a different dynamic. And I think I have my thoughts about the Enos house versus the new house, the beach house. I feel like, structurally it's a lot different. I feel like Enos house kind of had that cold, grand sort of like epic feel to it. So it's
a little bit of a more old school building. I feel like even though it's a Mayan revival, I think it was a different dynamic for the time because the Terry Silver in KK3 was a lot grander. I feel like this version of Terry, we started off with still grand, but a little, saddened, kind of trying to be more humble and try to like go down from the status that he had. I mean, he's still obviously a rich guy and surrounded by rich friends, from what we got from the cocktail, the breakfast, or brunch, the
Right.
tofu brunch.
Tofu brunch.
Then I think structurally, the building itself, it's almost like it's a box, sort of like he's had this whole theory down about it, about how this beach house structurally, it's like it's less of a prison. It's like an open space. It's like open-minded. It faces the beach. It's looking to greater pastures. It's looking to just openness, like open-mindedness, and trying to heal himself. So that's what I get from the house. But Enos' house, I feel like there was almost like a reserved quality, like he was this big persona, but he still wanted to remain reserved and isolated and above, the smog and above the city of LA and
right.
So he's above it all, sort of. Versus this one, I think, before Kreese jumps right into the picture, I feel like there's a more understated take with this new house. So
yes.
Hopefully, I'd love to see it. Because he's transitioned, judging by the trailer and the end of season 4. So who knows? Maybe he decides I'm going to go and rent that house again or buy it. I don't know.
Right. Right. And we're going to get to this in a second. The season 5 trailer, I'm just going to throw this picture up. Now this is, he's finally, and you talk about transitioning. This is like full Terry. Right. Amazing. We're going to get to this absolutely amazing transition, but this would be the type of Terry who would be in the Ennis house. I have a theory. I could be right or wrong, but I have a theory that we haven't seen it, but I think he still owns it. And I think he still owns multiple locations. So I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know if we're going to see the Ennis house or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see that he owns property more than just that beach house.
Maybe it's a summer house, this one by the beach, so I've actually had, I guess you can call it head canons and these ideas that I've had, that, he's got multiple houses in Europe, maybe even chateau in France, who knows?
Yep.
I just feel like that's the kind of person he is, but maybe he just put all that on hold, trying to remove himself from Cobra Kai and everything.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I agree with that. Speaking of Cobra Kai kid, Drew, always a great day when talking Terry Silver. Good to see you, Drew. Thanks for popping in. Lots of great comments. Thank you guys. Let's see. Thank you. I saw that we had a subscription. Thank you so much, guys, for here we go. Liam, thank you. I'm subbed to your channel. Thank you, guys. Really, that's one of the best ways. If you want to support the channel, if you like what I do, go ahead and subscribe. Have tons of content coming out. We have KenCast. We have all kinds of great discussions. And while you're at it, check out the link to Tig Daily on Twitter. That's Christine here. That's her account. Yeah, go and follow her too, especially if you're a Terry Silver, Thomas Ian Griffith fan, and you get daily content from her about Thomas Ian Griffith, which is great.
Try.
So I guess talking about the trailer, Josh says, I watched your amazing video about last trailer. Thank you, Josh. Do you think Terry is in the LaRusso house when he met with Daniel because Daniel had the same clothes when we see his family photo? That's interesting, Christine. And we'll get to Josh's question, but I want to get your thoughts on the trailer. So what did you think of the season 5 trailer?
Firstly, it blew me out of the water. Every single season, the trailers have been phenomenal. But I think this one especially, it's just sort of, not only do they bring in some new faces, and there's a lot of just absolutely wild over the top scenes, in the dojo, the new and bright, shiny Cobra Kai dojo. And I think, honestly, I think everybody's kind of in for a treat this season, especially. I mean, it's very Terry centric. That's for sure. I mean, he's even scenes he's not in the trailer. I feel like he's in the background, like he's sort of this ominous force in the back. So it's going to be interesting to see where the dynamics go. And as far as LaRusso and him in that scene, if you look closely in the back, there's like a punch in the wall.
Yes.
So, I mean, I didn't notice that at first until I watched it again, and I'm like, I don't know. I think maybe there was like the beginnings of a brawl, or maybe there was something that happened. They got kind of into an altercation, but I can definitely see, judging by, in Karate Kid 3 and how Terry ends up snooping around Miyagi's house, the dojo, and everything. So I think it's something that is up his caliber. I think it's up his sleeve. I think Terry could, he knows everything and anything. I mean, he's like his own personal FBI. So he knows where people live and things like that. So as atypical to a villain. So I think, even though I have my reservations of calling him a villain, so that's just biased opinion. But I definitely think that it could be possible. It could be, he's in the same scene. So
right. And this is something too that I missed that when I looked at the trailer, because I was focused on that shot. It just how fearsome Terry Silver is. But yeah, if you look behind him, it does look like there's something with that wall, like maybe a hole punched in it.
Right.
And then another thing I missed was that look of Daniel looking disheveled. His knuckle is bloody.
Oh yeah.
And so Chris Maffei, who was on the live stream, and he was suggesting that maybe Daniel was trying to punch Terry Silver and that he punched through the wall and it's making his knuckles bleed, which is amazing if that happens. That is wild, because that is just a straight callback to the Quicksilver method. And
absolutely. And it's kind of like it's reversed essentially. So it's like here you have Terry being like not here. In KK3, it's Terry was like the more dominating force. He's the one who's kind of urging him to be more aggressive. I think maybe here it's like you can tell kind of from the way his face is in that scene in the trailer. I mean, we're not getting much of it, but we're getting brief enough for me to say, it kind of looks like he's reversed. It's almost like he's excited that it's happening. It's almost kind of like how Daniel was excited to learn new technique, even though he was kind of apprehensive about it. So there's definitely a lot of tension and, apprehension as well. So I think I like that. I don't know if that made sense, but
yeah, absolutely. Jay, hi Jay. Do you think there were deleted scenes from Karate Kid 3 inside the Ennis house? I don't know. That would be great. One of the things, and Christine, I don't know if you feel this way. One of my biggest frustrations is that Sony, I love them. They produce amazing content, but the home release of Karate Kid 3, they have kind of neglected it over the years. Like, they haven't given it any special features. The story of how that movie got made is a fascinating story from what we know. And, what gave birth to Terry Silver, like what happened, what was filmed, what wasn't filmed. And people are asking these questions about deleted scenes in Karate Kid 3. Because if you look at the trailer for Karate Kid 3, the very first scene they show in the trailer is a deleted scene. We never saw it in the actual movie.
It was never an addition, no.
Yeah. And that's kind of an exciting thought, right? Like, is it possible that they shot more stuff in the Ennis house that just never made it into the movie? I guess we don't know. What do you think?
Honestly, I think that the whole movie itself has been neglected a lot. I think that even in the beginning, the creators kind of were
Hello, Christine.
Stuff that Avildsen had said in the past, and I mean, even Kamen, like, he was just the notion that Mike Barnes was coming back. I remember watching in the interview, he said, "Oh no, I hope they don't bring him back." But then I guess Sean Kanan's blown it out of the water with what he does coming back, so he's really thrilled about it. So he's kind of changed his mind, and I think over time, especially with what Cobra Kai has done with Terry Silver, for example.
Right.
I think Kamen has kind of changed his mind on it. I mean, I don't know him personally. I've never actually discussed anything or met him. But I think, I'm judging from his dialogue with different people, like Cobra Kai Companion's interview, I think he's definitely changed his mindset on it. And I think Cobra Kai has definitely unleashed a new generation of people who are looking into Karate Kid 3.
Right.
And a testament to Thomas Ian Griffith's performance, and also just, people's interest of wanting to know more about it to get basis. Because I think there's a lot of younger fans, especially, who have never watched either all three of the films or the last two films, or even just Karate Kid 3. Because a lot of people I've talked to have kind of sped off of the second film, so Karate Kid 2, and they just kind of dropped it after that, and then just all of a sudden Karate Kid 4, the next Karate Kid, comes out. So
Right.
people have seen that. So they've seen that and kind of just bypassed Karate Kid 3, which I think is a travesty, but that's the way it's been. So I don't know. And I think, honestly, I would love to see if maybe the studio will release another DVD, maybe a Blu-ray with some more special features, maybe not deleted scenes. I mean, I don't know if there are any archived scenes that they just kind of ignored, just because they're like, no, this film's whatever. We don't want to even talk about this film. It's like Voldemort of the Voldemort of the Karate Kid saga. So people don't want to even bother with it. But I think it would be a great idea, and I think it would be phenomenal to hear from Ralph Macchio and Thomas Ian Griffin and whoever is still around, maybe even Mark Kamen, to talk about how Terry Silver was just written in last minute because Martin Kove couldn't be in a lot of Karate Kid 3 because of his schedule of conflicts. So it would be nice to hear some more about it than what's come out in little interviews here and there about it if they've been asked. But generally, I don't think too many people ask about Karate Kid 3 as often, unless you're somebody who's heavily invested in it, like Cobra Kai Companion. So
Right, exactly. Everyone, this is thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us, we are talking about Terry Silver and Thomas Ian Griffith, and we're taking your comments and questions. There's so many of them, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. But Christine, now let's talk a bit about the man, Terry Silver.
KenCast, Terry Silver.
Okay, so Christine,
I always get a kick out of your intros. It's just like, even the number countdown in the beginning, it's just something. I feel like I'm on a movie set. It's amazing.
Well, thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
That's what we go for here, right?
Yeah.
So a question, Terry Silver. I know people watching this, they are Karate Kid fans. They know Terry Silver very well. If someone is new to Cobra Kai, they really haven't seen Karate Kid 3 yet. How important would you say the character of Terry Silver is in the Karate Kid franchise, in the Cobra Kai franchise, and in the history of 80s movies and movies in general?
Loaded question. So I feel, at least if I want to start off with Cobra Kai, I'll start off there, and then I'll jump into Karate Kid saga. But I think from the get-go, I never watched Cobra Kai when it was on YouTube, just because I didn't have the funds for YouTube Red. So, and I had heard about it and I was dying to watch it, but I was like, you know what? It'll eventually end up somewhere that I'll be able to watch it, judging by tech and everything, and streaming services. So I thought somebody would somewhere pick it up, So I didn't watch it then, but then by the time, I think it was season 3 is when they got to Netflix. I'm not 100% sure. But I went back and then I finally watched all of it, because then Netflix put all of it on.
Right.
And I think he was always kind of there. It was always in the background. And I feel like the entire few seasons leading up to season 4, I think they were always estimating a return of Terry Silver. And I feel like it was always coming. because there are little hints here and there. I mean, not just the obvious ones like Kreese in season 3 at the end, where he's like, he picks up the phone, and Terry picks up the phone and says, and Kreese turns around and says, what does he say? I forgot. Oh, he says a long time. So
Right.
I think there were a lot little Easter eggs leading up to that point. I feel like that was a blatant obvious. That was, for me, it was obvious because, I mean, who else? I mean, who else is a friend? I mean, some people
Right.
theorized it was Mike Barnes, but I'm like, Mike Barnes didn't really have that much interaction, and the relationship that's so obvious in Karate Kid 3 between Kreese and Terry, which in Karate Kid 3 in the beginning it looks like they have a very affectionate, budding relationship. I mean, and then they, Cobra Kai shows you flashbacks of Vietnam.
Right.
But I think just the return of Kreese could not have happened, I think, without Terry Silver being in his mind. So I think it was always going to lead to Terry Silver coming back. I don't know if that answers the question, but I think with Cobra Kai, for example, I'm trying to remember one distinct example, kind of about getting the students to join forces with him. It's and then just the material that he brought in, Kreese brings in, things like that. So it's little things. I can't really put them all into word, but I think, just getting merchandise for students, like even before, like the shiny gis that he gets for the first. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you're absolutely right. I think Terry was always there, in Cobra Kai, and they seeded him throughout, and like even starting with Karate Kid 3. And it's such an interesting movie because when it came out, it was, we've talked about before that like it was, not well received, I guess, at the time. People didn't like it. Didn't make too much money. It made some money, but not too much, not as much as the others. But that movie had this amazing villain in it. And some people said, he's over the top. Gene Siskel praised Thomas Ian Griffith for his performance. The interesting thing, though, is, he did amazing work. And we'll get to Thomas Ian Griffith soon because you're a fan.
Yes.
But it's such, I think, an interesting character because it's so broad, but it also is very specific. It's not just an over-the-top 80s villain. And people want to classify Terry Silver as that when you watch Karate Kid 3. But really, that's kind of just at the beginning and towards the end. Throughout most of the movie, when he is conning Daniel, when he is kind of assuming this persona, I mean, it is amazing just how subtle he is. And you think he could actually maybe be a good guy. Maybe he's not all that bad. There's a lot of nuance there in Karate Kid 3 even. And it's this villain, and this is why I love the villain Terry Silver. He's larger than life, but he is like an 80s villain who wants to conquer the world. It's like Terry Silver has already done that. And then he gives that up to basically just torment a bratty teen and an old man, a pesky old man. Like that's what he does. And it's so amazing to see a villain, I guess, a character who has the world, and he puts that on hold for this one little specific thing. Yeah. I don't know. That's just what I think.
No, I agree, because in my mind, it's all centered around John Kreese, because John Kreese was not only his friend. I feel that he, at his point in life, especially like in Vietnam, for example, I think judging by the flashbacks in Cobra Kai in season 4 about how he's so controlled by his family, and like his father has like a presence, and he just, what I got from that is that he did not have the most affectionate upbringing as a child. So I feel like his father might have been really strict, saying, you need to get in the family business. You need to get rid of Vietnam, forget about your friends, forget about everything else, and just, shape up. I think he was kind of sheltered, but not. And I think he was always trying to find that love, trying to find somebody that will care for him. And I think that's what he saw in John Kreese. And that's why in Vietnam, like, he felt so indebted, and then even later, and that's why, like, he kept supporting John, you know, opening up the dojo and sending the funds. And then when John comes back, he sends him to Tahiti and all that stuff. Like, I think he was always trying to hold on to Kreese and not lose him. And then whatever happens between the 85 All Valley and what we see in Cobra Kai, which I'm hoping we really see what happened there. I'm hoping to see whether or not something awful happened, because that's what I get. I feel like something happened between them, and Terry just realized that this guy is not what he seems. Maybe he was when they were younger, but I think he invested a lot into John. And so when Miyagi humiliates John Kreese at the 84 All Valley, that's, you know, basically beating his hand to shreds, you know, like breaking the glass and all that stuff. So I think that was his focus. So then when he heard about what happened, you know, Miyagi and with Daniel and being so humiliated and losing, and I think failure is something that's really important to Terry. Not in the sense that he, you know, wants to fail, but he always wants what's best. He wants to be the champion. He wants to be number one. Yes. And so when he sees that, you know, Kreese is struggling, he goes, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can, even if it means stalking a teenager, which is morally just like incomprehensible sometimes. I think about it, even being the Terry Silver fan that I am. I always think about it. I'm like, was that really like PC? I don't know. But then, you know, trying to also get into the mind of like Miyagi and trying to get into his history, his past between the 442nd and, you know, his military past. So trying to tap into that. So I think, you know, that's just all it is he would go above and beyond for the people that he loves and people that he's loyal to. And it just, I guess, slapped him in the face later because, you know, Kreese, you know, he just will not admit that he's got his weaknesses. So
that's fascinating. I love the fact that you have like dived into his psychology like this. I love talking about Terry Silver. And to your point about him in season 1, they had to bring him in. He was even mentioned back in season 1 with the All Valley ban on Cobra Kai. And yeah, that's really one of the amazing things of Cobra Kai is, you know, Christine's talking about like all this background, all the psychological background for Terry Silver. And we kind of get to see it play out, at least with his relationship with John Kreese. And I agree. I want to see exactly what happened. Like, I hope there are flashbacks or some kind of like explanation. I think it would be incredible. Jay says, you and Drew imagined a mural inside Terry's house of himself. Yeah. In the trailer, there's a giant mural in his new dojo. That backs up your prediction. Yes. A deleted scene from Karate Kid 3 could contain a silver mural. That would be amazing. Yeah, I hope so too. Javi says, Thomas Ian Griffith did not want Terry to be so over the top in Karate Kid 3. We are seeing the true version Tig wanted for Terry now. You know, this is a really interesting point because, you know, I think it was the first time I heard that was in Peter's at the Cobra Kai Companion podcast. You guys should check that out. He has this great interview with Thomas Ian Griffith, and he says in that interview that, you know, it was John Alvinson who wanted to keep him going more over the top. Yeah, really push it every take. And, you know, we were talking about deleted scenes. Well, what about alternate takes? It'd be fascinating to go and see what the other takes were that maybe weren't as over the top and like his performance there. And that would be just so fascinating to see. Because
I hope somebody has it somewhere.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, do you feel like that would violate the movie that, you know, like Karate Kid 3, if somehow there was like this alternate Thomas E. Griffith performance as Terry Silver that wasn't, because everyone loves the, you know, the bathtub scene. And here, in fact, I think I have it here. So here, here's the bathtub scene where he's screaming and on the phone and stuff like that. Like, what if this scene played out differently, where he was a bit more nuanced, a bit more subtle? It would be very interesting to see. But I know I do love this part of Terry Silver too, where he's just like, he just loves being evil so much. But I don't know. Do you think that would violate the movie if we saw a completely different performance of Terry Silver?
I don't think so. I mean, because judging from what was presented in season 4, I feel like it might not be so bad. I think because definitely Thomas Ian Griffin's brought different light to Terry Silver, and I think that he's added a human touch to it. Not to say that Terry Silver in KK3 wasn't human, but I think, like, especially in that sauna and bathtub scene, I feel that's maybe was his self, his real self with Kreese, because I think maybe Kreese just gets him kind of in a tizzy or gets him excited to just kind of be alive. And I think that that's just like a take on how much he really cares about Kreese, and he cares about Cobra Kai, and I think also making up for lost time. And if you look at, because of that flashback in the tattoo parlor, I feel like there's a side of him that just really, really wants to be a part of Cobra Kai, but he's got a lot of, issue and baggage with family and things like that from that little scene. I don't know if that's a stretch or taking too much out of it, but I definitely feel like I don't think it would take away from what we saw in Karate Kid 3. So.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see it. Like, if it's even possible to see it. Now, Kate, good to see you, Kate, says, I think I'm the only person who isn't enthralled with Silver and thinks he was a poorly written one-dimensional character in Karate Kid 3. I don't think you're the only person who thinks that. Like, that's
not by a long shot.
Right. I think a lot of people feel that way. I think they felt that way, way back when. And, he's a character, I think, in Karate Kid 3 where you can make a lot of inferences. I think it's interesting, all the points that are brought up. And if you read between the lines, there's a lot there. But in the context of the movie that they wanted to make and the studio wanted to make, and the fact that I think Robert Mark Kamen, in that interview, I saw an interview where he basically said Martin Kove left the production. Martin Kove was going to be the bad guy, and basically left 3 weeks before, or he got another job, with a pilot on the show 3 weeks before they were going to start shooting. So Robert Mark Kamen had to come up with a new character, and that's how fast Terry Silver was born. And, I think maybe if that had been the idea earlier, who knows if there was more time to sort of play with, the nuances and who this would be and everything. And I think he said he just had to try to make this guy even worse than Kreese and just do everything he could to make him like a bad guy. But there's so much, like, with the nuance and the, Vietnam veteran, that whole scene between him and Miyagi, the idea that Miyagi was a Medal of Honor winner and he wasn't, and there might have been the jealousy, PTSD, like all those kinds of interesting issues. They're just hinted at, but we don't see them. I don't know if we ever would, but I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you like how he was written in Karate Kid 3? Yeah.
I mean, when I saw Karate Kid 3, I was like, 11 or something. I don't even remember how old I was. I was like a preteen. But I remember thinking to myself that, yeah, he's over the top, but because up until that point, I was just infatuated with villains. Like, any villain that appeared in anything, I was sort of like into it. And it's funny. I initially thought there was something to him. There's more to him than just, this over-the-top epic villain. And I, even as a young age, I was kind of like, maybe there was more that, the writers wanted to input, but, just film production staff or, maybe the higher-ups of Sony or whoever, I forgot the production crew or team, or the company. So I don't know if maybe the company got involved and was like, we need just more over the top epic, sort of cruel behavior. And I think, I don't know, I feel like there was more to him from the get-go. And I think for me, because I've been such a villain fan for a long time, I feel like I always dive deeper into it. So I think for me, I think he was written just fine. I mean, maybe he could have had more, and I think that's the blessing of Cobra Kai, is to have given him more input. And the fact that Kamen himself gives the blessing to the big three and says, here, do wonders with Terry Silver and see if you could bring some more nuance to it. And I think that they did that. And I'm curious to see from, Thomas Ian Griffith, if there was any background that he's brought in on his own, whether it's with, props, or if it's with flashback scenes, or, I don't know how the extent of his creative involvement in it, but I definitely think that there was more to it. And he may be one-dimensional to a degree, but I think there's subtle little details within Karate Kid 3 that kind of gives me that vibe that there's more to him. And it also has to do with Thomas Ian Griffith's facial expressions through the whole thing. And I think I'm always, a sucker for that, when an actor is able to carry a scene, carry more emotion than what maybe is written in the scene, judging by how his face moves and how he reacts to things. There's a little bit. There's, through the wickedness, there is, I think, a sort of insecurity. There's a sort of, I call it like Twig. Twig was trapped.
Right.
In Terry Silver the whole time. The sort of afraid, fragile, and that's how Cobra Kai comes in. Because I think Cobra Kai gave us Twig, gave us the side of him that was like an afraid, sort of timid child, sort of, at the time. Because a lot of people who went to Vietnam were essentially children. Or a lot of like 18-somethings who went, hoping that they would find themselves, judging by, I've talked to a lot of veterans. I used to work with veterans and stuff. So for me, Vietnam veterans have got a special place. So, but definitely, I think that there is definitely a lot more to Terry that in Karate Kid 3 that sort of meets the eye. Upon multiple rewatches, I've kind of developed that. So I wasn't as sophisticated with it when I was 11 or 12.
Right. And it's interesting, like the novelization, the scholastic novelization, it's fascinating because the way it's adapted, I don't know if this is the way it was in the original script, is that the first time you saw Terry Silver was when he came into Miyagi-Do and telling Miyagi and Daniel about John Kreese dying and trying to make amends. And you don't know necessarily that he's a bad guy, but that develops over time. And I think that's kind of fascinating to think about. Like, what if the movie played out that way, where Terry Silver comes in and you haven't seen John Kreese, he could be dead, and this guy comes in that is trying to take over Daniel as a teacher, and you don't quite know that he's a bad guy, but then you start to know, and then John Kreese pops up alive, and that is an interesting way to look at it. And I think if you cut out those first scenes with Terry Silver in the hot tub and in the steam room and stuff like that, I love all that stuff, by the way.
Right.
But if you cut that out, I don't think people would think of Terry Silver as an over-the-top villain at all. Like,
I actually had a debate with someone who actually thinks it's just a bad film, just awful, and they actually mentioned that very same thing too, and it kind of got me thinking that maybe if they just kept Kreese in the shadow for a bit, and you just saw him go straight into sort of the manipulation, or if you saw him just being the nice guy, pretending to be the poor trained sensei, who's like trying to make amends for Kreese, like you said, like he's appearing like he's just like this humble, innocent guy that's willing to help Daniel. I think if you showed that, maybe things would have taken a different turn. But I think, such as the timing of the film, and I think in the 80s, they kind of like to do that. They kind of like to show the villain being over the top. And I don't know if it's James Bond films have a
Right.
lot to do with that, because they like to show the villain being hideous for a little while before
Right.
they jump into it. So I don't know, give or take. Maybe that's a thing that should have been looked at. I don't know, but I think it's definitely an interesting theory. I think maybe it would have changed the dynamic a little bit, but maybe
Right.
then we wouldn't have gotten what we got in Cobra Kai. So
Right. It's true. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Andre says Silver is the only character in the franchise that has his own theme. Exactly. That alone tells you about the impact this character has brought to this Karate Kid world. Yes. And Thomas Ian Griffith's performance is simply fantastic.
right.
So, Christine, I think now is a great time to talk about Thomas Ian Griffith. And
KenCast, Thomas Ian Griffith.
that one kind of snuck up on me. Gee. So Thomas Ian Griffith, just an amazing actor. I had the chance to meet him at Paley Fest.
Right, you did.
And you may be meeting him soon. I can tell you that it is just amazing, just how warm, gracious, and welcoming he is as a person. Like, if you think Terry Silver is like a bad guy, and we've seen shots of him, and he looks like a very scary bad guy.
Right.
Thomas E. Griffith he's like the exact opposite. But on top of that, he is just an amazing world-class actor. He is so talented. And I think, Christine, like, we know him from Karate Kid 3. He's been in a lot of different movies. We actually did a deep dive analysis, a live one on Excessive Force.
Right.
Everyone go check that out. That was fun.
Amazing.
But he wrote that. He produced it. He's a writer. Right. He's an artist. He's a musician, martial artist. He has so many different talents. But can you talk about Thomas Ian Griffith, the actor, and why it's crucial that Thomas Ian Griffith played Terry Silver, and just his talent, and basically why people should be following you so that Thomas Ian Griffith can be a part of every day for them?
Well, I think, he's very theatrical. I mean, he does come from, there's a theater background, the musicals and everything. And I think that there is a theatrical quality to Terry, and I think you needed a thespian of sorts to play Terry. I mean, at this point in time, I'm kind of like, there's really nobody else. I've been asked before, who do you think could have played Terry Silver if not Thomas Ian Griffith? And now I can't say anybody else at all. I don't even think I could have said anyone else back in the day either. I think that he was sort of meant to be in this position. And the fact that they've brought Terry Silver back, and they had such a gripping concept for him that Thomas Ian Griffith was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should reprise it. Maybe I should step into the shoes again and do it. And I think I'm actually really grateful to the big three, and on and off. Sometimes I'll make posts saying how I'm just so grateful that they brought him back. I mean, not only it's like my childhood's back, it's sort of like just, as we said earlier, I think the Cobra Kai is nothing kind of without Terry Silver, and some people will argue that he was just sort of like the bank, the funding source for Cobra Kai and nothing more. And I think that's kind of, it's a travesty, for another lack of a better word.
Right.
To kind of say that. I think that there's more to it than that. I think that he just, I don't know, he brings a sort of emotion to the role, and now more so in Cobra Kai. And I think that there's so much depth now to Terry, and it's, even though a lot of people are very psyched to see him be, quote unquote evil again and just tough and mean. I think it's just wonderful that they kind of brought a softer side. So we kind of see the softer sides that may have been there all along. It's just Kreese's departure in Karate Kid 3 changed things for him. But
Right.
To go off of Karate Kid 3, I think that he not only stirs a lot of emotions in people, I think even as a villain, like in Karate Kid 3, which I always say constantly that he's not a villain. Like, I don't want to call him a villain, because to me, he's just sort of a tortured soul. Like there's more to him, and I think that he really brings that to light. And other roles where he's sort of played similar, like a tortured soul. Like there was one with the actress from Little House on the Prairie. Was a made-for-TV film where it's a true story about he's a serial killer that he's in the visions of this woman who's played by the lady from Little House on the Prairie. Her name is kind of I'm forgetting her name right now, but essentially, like, he kind of has that power to sort of make you feel bad for a serial killer, like a bad guy, somebody that your society tells you you're not supposed to feel bad for, but that's just how he is. I feel like he brings a lot of humanity that I mentioned, I think even in our excessive force chat. I feel he brings a lot of humanity to somebody that's supposed to be tough as nails, and somebody that maybe has mental illness, or somebody that has that the whole world thinks is just this awful person.
Right.
And I think that's a very special quality. And as vague as it might be, I think that's just, to me, it's all about like the emotions and his ability to take what's on the page and turn it into something else. And I feel like he's very underrated. And I feel there was so much potential within Thomas Ian Griffith. And I think a lot of creatives back in the day, maybe, or even towards the end, just before he retired, and I feel like they kind of neglected things, but neglect is a strong word. I think that there was a lot that he could deliver that I think a lot of, production staff or, directors or whatever may not have seen, or like a casting director, maybe like they just missed the mark. I think a lot of people missed the mark in his acting career, and I think that he could have been a bigger thing. Not to say anything too sad or melodramatic, but what we do have is phenomenal. I wouldn't take back anything we have. Even the bit parts, even something as like his role in, I think he came in what was that show? The one with Kira Sedgwick. He did a episode. He was playing a lawyer. It was a very small part, but what's the show called? The Closer.
The Closer. Okay.
He had a episode, appearance in The Closer. But even in that small appearance, I think that there was a lot of talent. You believe that he's a lawyer. You believe that he's a criminal, or you believe he's a hardened cop. I think there are several films. Like there's even the Seawolf Pirate's Curse one, where he's playing a modern sort of pirate. And I think that he just has a lot of talents, a lot of different, not just saying he has the musical talent and the opera singing and the piano playing and the accordion playing and all these Renaissance man type stuff. I just think that, I think he's found his niche in the writing absolutely too, because I've seen some of the episodes of things he's written, and I think it's phenomenal. And also stuff that's written with Mary too, I think it's phenomenal. But I think one film that I would recommend if people can find it is Ulterior Motives. Phenomenal film. I found a DVD years ago. I think it might have even been a reproduction. Somebody had the film and then you just started making copies of it or something, which I don't know how PC that is, but sometimes with some of his films, you can't really find it. You can't really get it. And it's kind of a struggle. And all the time people are saying, well, where can I watch this? So I make an effort to put under every post, if I do a photo post from one of the films, I always kind of try to dig through the internet to find where you could watch it. There are a lot of like torrented sites where you could try to watch it, but I wouldn't recommend it because I don't want people's computers to be blowing up on them or anything like that.
Right.
So, to avoid that, I try to do what I can. Sometimes people put stuff on Daily Motion or YouTube, and so you can watch maybe grainy quality of it.
Right.
But anyway, I think honestly that's a really good movie because it shows his, and he wrote that as well, I believe. So it kind of, his wife, Mary Page Keller, is also in the film, and she plays a journalist, and she's trying to dig deeper. And there's elements about the Yakuza. There's different elements. I don't want to give too much of the film away. So essentially, he's a private eye, but he's got a different twist to him, and he's working with the wrong people, and he's trying to pretend to be kind of like how Terry was in Karate Kid 3, where he's trying to maintain this humble sensei that's trying to help out. And so he's trying to help out this journalist to figure things out, and then he has kind of a moral conundrum through just being with her and talking to her and just helping her. He's realizing that he's in the wrong, and he just tries to make a 360 shift. And so that's why I feel like there's a lot of nuances with that character. And I think I recommend a lot of people to look into it if you can, because it's just, I mean, what he does is just great in that film, as he is with a lot of things. So
we'll have to do an analysis like we did with Excessive Force. We'll have to do one of Ulterior Motives as well. Siva says, I like Thomas Ian Griffith more than I like Terry Silver. He's so opposite Terry Silver. He's such a brilliant actor and a well-rounded person. Robana says, when the cartoon came out, Karate Kid cartoon, I remember really wanting to see Terry Silver again in some way. Thanks, Cobra Kai, for doing that, for bringing him back. Bob Birkins asks, is he really evil? And, Christine, you've said no, right? Yeah, he's not.
I don't know. I think because it's just, I feel like he's trying to do whatever he can, and even if it's through immoral means or unorthodox methods and methods that might seem evil to someone else. I don't know. To me, my friend says I'm biased, but I think there's definitely like I said, a sort of a tortured, confused soul within Terry Silver. And I think that's also like in Cobra Kai, how he just sort of stops either taking the meds or he's just, he flies off on Stingray. And I think everything has a purpose.
Right.
So, and I feel like his purpose is to achieve status that he was never able to get. I mean, even like with Miyagi in Karate Kid 3, when he goes and he talks about the war, I think there's a lot of, like you touched up on that, Ken, about how he might have felt either envious or jealous that he could not have been the medal recipient, that he couldn't have been this glorified war hero, and he kind of came back to nothingness, which a lot of Vietnam vets had happen. I mean, Kreese even mentions it in the balcony scene about how everybody kind of called them baby killers and said that they were just like wasting their time over there, and that a lot of their deaths or the death of their friends were for no reason, or they were just like reasonless deaths, or like whatever the word is for that. But so I think that there's definitely a person in there that's trying to, he's trying to be somebody better than he, in his mind, he thinks he's better this way by, taking back Cobra Kai. And I think he was really hurt by Kreese in 4. I think Kreese, he all along thought that Kreese respected him as an equal. And it's kind of, he leaves him feeling like, hey, you asked me to come back to this. And then it's like Kreese is sort of like, no, I didn't. It's you wanted it. You wanted to come back, and it's all you. It's not, has nothing to do with me. And then to just sort of trash it like that. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? I've decided to come back, and I got psyched into it thinking I can achieve something that I never could.
Right.
So now it's just like no holds barred.
Yep, exactly. And like even going back to that first Karate Kid 3 movie, his first appearance in that, Bit of Brookie says, I was lucky to see the theatrical release of Karate Kid 3 back in '89. The audience were totally captivated by Terry's on-screen performance. It was the right setting for that kind of performance, stole the show. And that's a great point. I wish I could have seen it. I don't know why I didn't go to see it actually in theaters in 1989. I think there were just so many other movies that year that just must-see movies, from Batman to Indiana Jones to Ghostbusters to like that. It was they probably shouldn't have released it that summer. But yes, and one thing I definitely I feel very strongly about Thomas Ian Griffith's performance in this is that it's singular in that I honestly can't. I'm sure maybe somewhere in the world there might be another actor who could play Terry Silver, but really I think Thomas Ian Griffith might be the only one. Like, to basically take what he does, think of all sort of like the ridiculous situations, like for instance, in a cigar, in a bubble bath, talking to his secretary, negotiating deals with like teenagers, like all in one scene,
Yeah.
bribing toxic waste, like that type of scene could easily just destroy actors. Like an actor, you have to play that just so perfectly. And the thing is, he managed to do that, and he played it with integrity, and he made it real. And that's just incredible. And it's like John G. Alvinson, the director, kept asking him to go bigger and bigger and over the top. And
Bigger and better, yeah.
yeah, and he was able to do that and also dial it back. And it's just amazing how many things were asked of him in that movie, and he somehow makes it all work. He combines it, and he makes one character with integrity, which is so hard to do. It's so hard to do.
Yeah, I agree, and I think he brings that to a lot of the roles. Like even in Time Cop 2, which is my personal favorite, it's because I love the first film. So for me, that just anything Time Cop, I'm there. But essentially, I think that, he's able to, like I said, he makes you feel bad when you're supposed to feel bad.
Yeah.
He makes you feel happy when you're supposed to feel happy for the character. And I think that that's sort of what he brings in Karate Kid 3 as well. Like, you're genuinely afraid, and there's like scenes, like especially when he's training Daniel in the dojo, like you're genuinely on the edge of your seat, frightened, like what is this guy going to do now? Like there's a sort of a mystery, and to me it's not predictable. Some people will say he's one-sided villain and it's one-dimensional, and you can't it's just the underlining cause. Maybe in their mind they think the underlining reason for everything is him just being naturally evil, and I don't think he's naturally evil. So I can't agree to that. I just think that just Thomas Ian Griffin made it really a believable villain. And I think that he's able to tone it down, kind of gives him the Hannibal Lecter kind of image, because he can be, manipulative and frightening, but is also like sort of a gentler side, like how he plays the piano in the beginning of season 4, like Hannibal Lecter in his drawing, Terry Silver's not eating people, but
right.
He's not in a nut house, but it's essentially, I feel like it's a very good villain. And I think that I'm, as much as I don't like the word villain, I think that he will go down in history as one of the best movie villains because of that. If Karate Kid 3 couldn't bring anything else, they definitely brought a new villain for our generations to come. And I'm just glad that Cobra Kai is able to tap into that and not only bring more heart to him, but also transition really smoothly to a progressively more like just broken and nihilistic person. And I think that's what we're getting in Cobra Kai season 5.
Yeah, and thanks to Cobra Kai, I think Terry Silver is the best character on television right now. He's my favorite character on television. I really think he deserves an Emmy nomination, and I think Netflix need to start campaigning for him right away. I think for season 5, I think he deserves that. And Peter from Cobra Kai Companion says, "Hey everyone, hey Big T." I think is that Tig Daly? Yeah, Big T, Cobra Cole. That's great. Let's see. Jay says, "I want Chosen to pull a fast one on Daniel enjoying Terry Silver." That's interesting. I don't know. That's absolutely fascinating.
Like, I already feel like
Big T, thanks for thanks for joining us, Big T. Christine, you really get my doppelganger. Thank you. It's always great to see you, Big T. And Big T, I want to say that I admire you. I enjoy working for you, and I think if anyone out there says anything bad about you, they don't understand. And I have full confidence that through time and maybe a little coercion, they'll see the truth.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see. Good to see you. Thanks, Big T. That's great. Marianella, this is a big comparison that people have made, especially recently, since he's come back into the cultural zeitgeist. What do you think about comparing Terry Silver with the Joker? And the connection too is, I think people think that Thomas Ian Griffith actually would play an amazing Joker, and they see Terry Silver as a Joker type character. I mean, that is a completely different property, obviously, but I don't know. What do you think about that, Christine?
Honestly, the only Joker that I can kind of see where the parallels might exist is honestly Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. I don't know what they'll do with this new Joker 2. I hear they're going to make like a more musical oriented Joker, which Thomas Ian Griffith could probably do.
Yeah.
But I think that through Arthur, there was a lot of, he had obviously he does have mental illness. He does have his own depressions and his own baggage and everything. And I feel like Terry Silver and Cobra Kai has that kind of. I mean, it's not as obvious, but I think that he has got a lot of issues. He did go see therapists where he mentions and how he went to therapy and how he's trying to change and heal himself. But I think that no matter how much healing he was able to do through therapy, which therapy for some people works miracles, for others it just doesn't. And I think that he was always kind of masking his issues. And I feel like, and then Joker and how it all just comes out. It just explodes. Like he's trying to be peaceful and he's trying to be tranquil, but the world around him isn't. And right. I think that Terry Silver is kind of a product of society and of his world. So it kind of goes into the nature versus nurture conflict, in my opinion. I definitely feel that his nurturing has a lot to do with it, and how, whether it's his companions that he made, maybe like he was searching for affection in the wrong places. Even Kreese himself, like I actually met Martin Kove at an event, and I told him, I said, I feel like there's you and Terry are misunderstood. And he kind of told me, well, Kreese would never hurt a student. Kreese would never do that. And I feel like he has a different thought about Terry and Kreese, which I always honestly, judging by what he's mentioned in the past, I always kind of thought I had a similar mindset to what Martin Kove feels about the relationship between Terry and John. I mean, I'd like to know a little bit more about his feelings, but I definitely think that they're both misunderstood to a certain degree. But I think that Martin Kove's Kreese, I think Kreese has gone through the wrong channels. I think that Kreese made a lot of mistakes through Cobra Kai, and I'm going out on a limb here, and nobody beat me up about it. But essentially, I think that Kreese could have sort of handled certain situations better, and getting into physical altercations with Johnny. And this is like my theory. So if you wanted to kind of level the playing field, and I think like he's got a lot of pride. So I think that anytime his pride gets tapped, he's initially ready to just cause destruction and chaos. So I think the real chaos behind Terry Silver is John Kreese. That's my theory.
That's interesting. Yeah, because Yeah, with the Joker, I mean, he's his own version of chaos, but that's interesting that there's that kind of relationship, that symbiotic relationship. Marcia says that Terry Silver reminds me more of Lex Luthor. Interesting. Peter, from Cobra Kai Companion, says Arthur Fleck is a Terry Silver fan. George says Tig could play a more chill and wiser version of the Joker. And then Alan says Joker is a totally different character. Don't insult Terry Silver.
Well, we're not insulting, and we're just sort of seeing that, judging by other people's comments. So there's a lot of people have said that, so we're just sort of shedding light on that idea.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what other people have said? They have said that Terry Silver is almost like an anti-Bruce Wayne. Like he's sort of like this rich.
I do get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and which is just so interesting that there's, some people say he's like the Joker. Some people say he's like Bruce Wayne / Batman. Like he's rich. He has all those skills. It's just he's a very twisted version of Batman. He's got a different mission. And
I really don't think. I think it's not quite. What do you call it? I don't think it's quite Joker or any other sort of villains that people have had. I think he's all his own. But anyway, that's besides the point.
Absolutely. We've got Strife the Warrior, amazing content creator, has joined us. He's saying, blink twice if Terry Silver's bribing you to say good things about you or him. Strife, look into my eyes, and I can tell you that absolutely not. There are no bribes whatsoever.
Not.
Yeah, none whatsoever. Let's see. So we've really had, time has flown today, Christine.
Right.
What are your overall thoughts, kind of like as we kind of wrap this up, about Terry Silver going into season 5? What do you want to see out of Terry Silver and Thomas Ian Griffith going into season 5?
I mean, part of me wants to say I want to see all hell break loose. I kind of want like the brutal side of Terry Silver to come back, but I'm under the guise that he is able to kind of redeem himself in a way. I kind of want to see a sort of a dynamic between an incarcerated John Kreese and Terry Silver, and I kind of want them to sort of duke it out, not physically necessarily, just talk it out, and for him to realize, I mean, maybe Kreese won't, judging from the conversation before the cops stormed in and arrested him. I don't think I think he's too far gone. I think Kreese doesn't realize that he's wrong to Terry. I think he thinks that Terry's in the wrong constantly. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know. I'm kind of clueless as to what is really driving Kreese to behave that way, because it's such a divergence from the Kreese in Karate Kid 3, where he's almost humbled that Terry's doing what he's doing for him, right, up until the scene in the dojo where they spilled the paint and he has the big fight with Miyagi. But I think honestly, I want to see that. I want to see sort of him in a way redeemed, because I think that in the start of his appearance in Cobra Kai, it was almost kind of like you saw a very redeemable Terry Silver. So he's like guaranteed maybe showing up at the dojo with John and trying to like apologize to Daniel was kind of short-lived, maybe not the best choice, the character to have done. But I think that there's possible us to kind of see a sort of breakdown. I don't know if you've seen the film 13 Assassins, where the villain in that film, the Shogun, is sort of like he's just rampant. He's just like killing people and this and that. I mean, it's a little bit of a jump between Terry Silver and the Shogun in that film, but I feel like he kind of crumbles. In the end, he's like, I don't want to die. I don't want something like this to happen. Like I think it would be interesting to see a breakdown. I do not want to see what do you call it? I don't want to see him die. That's for sure. And I think that some of the little rumors that the jokes that the big three have made about how someone's going to die, a favorite's going to die, and part of me's like, oh no, don't make it Terry Silver. I mean, it could be anybody. It could be Stingray. It could be Chosen. I mean, who knows who they're going to do. They've said a hero has to die
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They tease. Like, I think they say that every season, and
Yeah.
it never happens. I personally, I think this is the type of show that hopefully they don't kill anyone off. I hope. With Terry Silver, I don't see how you could. He's just too good. Even if he retreats, he'll retreat to the shadows. And it's just so great to know Terry's out there somewhere, maybe plotting or doing something. And Robana says, after what they did with Terry, I'm excited to see what they do with Barnes. 3 weeks away, people. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's going on. Kate says, I really want to see Silver implode. He didn't after 3. He needs to be brought back to reality. Okay, so Kate really thinks that he's getting too big for his britches. We'll see how big those britches are. Maybe in they're nice, stylish black britches with some sunglasses too. So I don't know.
Very goth. I don't know. It's as I was a goth kid growing up. I call myself an elder goth, but I feel there's a lot of goth vibes I get. He's a very gothic character. I mean, if you really look into it, I mean, he's one of the more, I think, in my mind, he's a more gothic villain. And by gothic, I don't mean just to explore that a little bit. I don't look at it. It's not like, just because he's wearing black and he's dark and sinister. There's a lot more to that. There's almost a Southern Gothic vibe that I get from him, and I think that it's interesting, like a literary Gothic vibe. So I think it'll be, and just the outward appearance too. I mean, if you look closely, the necklace that he's wearing has got a snake on it. I mean, it's total absolute Cobra Kai. But I think that it's very interesting. I just think he looks great. I think it's a phenomenal choice. I actually made a post about it and how I said that. I think that, not to throw myself into it, but I made a post about how I actually had imagining that he would come out of a vehicle of some sort. Most likely in my mind, it was more like a sports car or some kind, which we see Robbie and Tori and the Ferrari and all that. So I don't know, but I definitely saw that kind of vibe. And so I'm kind of glad that the big three, the creative minds behind his wardrobe kind of put that together. So I think that's interesting. I like the kind of dynamic change when he went from the grays, the more earth tones in the beginning, or we're seeing with blues and stuff. So more like jovial colors, like at the brunch, the lighter side. And now he's just kind of getting into like the darkness of it all. So the madness. So I'm psyched. I'm psyched to see where he goes.
Right. Me too. And I agree. It's almost like he does, and I'm not an expert on Gothic things, but he does. There are some serious vampire vibes like that you get from Terry. Like if you were to tell me that character's a vampire, and not part of the Cobra Kai franchise, I would be like, I could see that. And Peter says, way to take Ken. Drew mentioned on the Epic stream that he thinks maybe Terry's spreading himself thin. We were talking about that. I want to say, was it Chris that was thinking that, or maybe Drew thinks that as well? It's possible, and we'll see. I think personally that Terry, he's very intelligent, and it seems like he's opening up a potential. And I saw some comments about Kim Da-eun and bringing her and her squad in as being maybe a potential weakness for Terry. Something tells me, though, that Terry has already gamed out all the eventualities, everything that could happen. And kind of as Christine was saying, like being in control, wanting to dominate. Like, I think he's a good chess player, and I think he'll protect himself from any kind of negative fallout. And check out that live stream, because we were talking about how this whole Karate Kid Dojo thing might not even be Terry's end game. He might have some other goal that we don't even know about yet. So I don't know. Everyone kind of watch for that. But Christine, thank you for joining us. I feel like I could talk about Terry with you for hours more.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing that we could do right now is say, everyone go follow Christine on Twitter, Tig Daily. And you can see in her, right next to her name, Tig Daily. And there's a link in the description. Go follow her if you're a fan of Thomas Ian Griffith. She uncovers all kinds of amazing photos and things. You have what is today? Today was it John Carpenter's Vampires on Friday, or what?
Yeah,
what?
it's
Oh, that was,
silly, but I call it Fang Friday. Yeah, so
Fang
it's
Friday,
just a little
okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like keep it going. I don't ever want to run out of material or anything like that, so I just like keep going. Um, sometimes it's tough being daily. Sometimes you're depending on work and timing and this and that. You can't always be up to date, but I try to be because I genuinely enjoy posting, and I genuinely I can't get to every single comment. I can't do everything, but I'm just really glad that you guys are all out there and that you support him. And because the ideal thing for me is just to support Thomasine Griffin, and none of it is to promote myself or anything like that. So it's always just about that, and just kind of like getting more people to sort of appreciate the nuances of not only Terry Silver, but they appreciate the nuances of Thomasine Griffin and all the stuff that he's capable of. And I think the world kind of like neglected that for some time.
Yeah.
So I think it's really great. So yeah, thanks for being around, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for following, and thanks for everything.
And just to clarify, that's your only account. Like
Right.
the other accounts you see, that's not you. You are
Yeah.
just Tig Daily.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Although
great.
shout out to them. Thank you for doing what you can to
Yeah.
support him. I think that's really great. And I'm always like encouraging fans to do what they can to support.
Well, we have Invisible Observer. Really enjoyed the discussion. Thank you, Ken and Christine.
you.
Thank you so much.
Christy.
And then Rabana says, hopefully you get to see Tig in Utah. Yeah, if you go. And we'll just kind of, here's one last comment. Will there be a live stream on September 9th? There's going to be a live stream on September 8th. We are going to do an epic live marathon up to the release of season 5. So as you're waiting, as you're counting down the hours, we're there with you. It's going to be me and tons of other people, maybe even Christine if she's available. We haven't reached out to really anyone yet, but it'll just be hours and hours, and we'll just be talking about Cobra Kai season 5, our theories, and just getting really psyched with our Coors banquets, getting ready to watch season 5
Or
of
your
Cobra Kai.
cigars. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Thanks for your comments. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everyone, but gave us a lot of food for thought. Thank you, Christine. Thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you, Ken, for having me. As always, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, as you know, and as I told you earlier, I love being subscribed to you on Twitter, because every day it's like a nice little reminder of that great actor Thomasine Griffith, who plays Terry Silver. And so I recommend that experience for everyone. Go and follow Tig Daily on Twitter. And if you like what I do and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. We have lots of content coming out, and go hit that notification bell and you'll be notified every time new content comes out. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Christine. And we look forward to.
I also wanted to just quickly say, yeah, Ken's content is just phenomenal. I mean, it's one of the first podcasts that I sort of followed, or channels. And I don't really follow too many channels to begin with. So it's always been really great to see what you put out there. And so much creativity involved. So yeah, I agree. Everybody just jump on the bandwagon and follow. You will never be disappointed. So it's awesome.
Thank you, Christine. That means so much. I really appreciate it. It means a lot coming from a true Thomasine Griffith fan, and obviously you put out such great content and a great person. And I've had the chance of meeting you multiple times at person, so that's great. And Peter did remind us, go find Ken's video on meeting Tig. Yes. So there's a video I should probably put in the description of, I was there with Peter at Paley Fest and getting to meet Thomasine Griffith, and you can just see just how, it is. And he's just an amazing person, great actor, really just amazing, exceeds your expectations in person. So if you're going to meet him at a convention, I think that will be a great experience. So
also, there's a photo of you with him. I did a screen. Well, it's not really a photo that's out there. So while I was watching it, I kind of like zoomed in, and there's this, he just has his hand on your hand. And it's just like a very humbling moment. Like you can genuinely see this genuine, like, sort of gratitude and affection for what it is you do out of him. That's just my thought. Maybe I'm too much of an empath and looking into it too much, but I think that's what I got from him. I think there's a genuine affection for what you do.
That just made my day, Christine. Thank you so much. And it was amazing. And he mentioned that too about this stuff. And so I'm glad. I think he appreciates all of this and all of his fans. And he's just great guy, great actor. Can't wait to see all the stuff we have in store from Thomas Ian Griffith going forward. And I look forward to seeing you, Christine, again soon. And I look forward to seeing everyone again on the next KenCast or KenCast After Dark. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a good day, everyone.